The chamber on Arcadia Prime shimmered with artificial starlight, its domed ceiling projecting a holographic galaxy overhead. Delegates from 100 worlds sat in circular tiers, their expressions ranging from wary to disinterested. It was supposed to be a peace summit. Instead, it felt like a funeral. President Elena Marek stood alone at the center platform. No guards, no advisors, just the weight of Earth behind her. Her voice was steady, but each word felt like a blow against a wall that refused to crack. Colony Vega 12 is gone. Over 6,000 dead. Civilians. The Vulsar called it a mining dispute. But I have footage, ships cloaked, landing pods pre-armed, orbital cannons firing before contact. That's not diplomacy. That's extermination. She tapped a command. The chamber's central hollow panel flared to life, projecting looping footage, panic-stricken miners running for cover, plasma bombardments shredding domes, Vulsar shock troopers dragging survivors in chains. Elena didn't flinch as the screams echoed faintly through the audio feed. She let it play. Let them watch. You've all seen reports like this, she continued. But every time we sign another treaty, we ask for clarification. We send condolences. And the Vulsar, they send silence or threats. Murmurs rippled through the tiers. The Mreath delegation clicked nervously. The Trias Combine leaned in. But the Vulsar representative, draped in silver bone armor, remained motionless, arms crossed, unbothered. Then he rose. High Warlord Zorvex Theruin, tall, muscular, eyes like burning coal, stepped into the light with a half-smile, like a wolf among diplomats. President Marek, he said, his voice a silken growl. You accuse us with passionate words. But passion is not proof. The galaxy is chaotic. Accidents happen. Miners dig where they shouldn't. Our patrols respond, efficiently. Must we apologize for every ember in a wildfire you ignited? Elena's eyes narrowed. Your patrols executed children, Warlord. Children. Unverified. Zorvex replied smoothly. And irrelevant. Your people expand without caution. They provoke. The Dominion defends its interests. A flicker of movement caught Elena's eye. Her intelligence chief, Ambassador Corlin Vance, shifted in his seat beside the Terran delegation, looking down, avoiding her gaze. Something was wrong. She swiped on her neural implant and received the message her assistant had just flagged. Urgent. Leaked fleet positions traced to internal Concord channel. Source, Vance. Her pulse slowed. She looked up at Vance. You've been feeding them routes, she said quietly, more realization than accusation. Vance froze. Delegates turned. The air shifted. The betrayal was undeniable. Zorvex gave a mock bow. Even your own trust us, President. Perhaps that says more than your dramatic speeches. Elena stepped forward. No. It says we've been too tolerant. She turned slowly, looking each alien faction in the eye. For 10 years we've waited. We've signed resolutions. We've buried our dead while the Vulsar sharpened their knives under the table. I came here hoping against reason, that someone would finally stand with us. She paused. No one spoke. I see now, she said softly. Hope isn't enough. Her voice hardened. This is no longer a summit. It's a reckoning. Let the record show that Earth has exhausted every diplomatic channel. From this moment forward, the United Earth Federation will no longer participate in Concord peace initiatives. Not while the Vulsar Dominion remains unaccountable. Gasps. Shouts. Several delegates stood, demanding clarity. Elena raised her voice over them. We will defend our colonies. We will not negotiate under threat. We will no longer wait for allies who offer words but no spine. So remember this moment. She turned to face Zorvex directly. Enough talking, she said coldly. Let the war begin. The silence that followed was absolute. Zorvex's smile vanished. You doom yourselves. No, Elena replied. You did. The day you mistook our patience for weakness. She walked off the central dais, not waiting for protocol. Her security fell in behind her as the chamber erupted into a storm of debate and panic. Outside, the stars above Arcadia Prime remained still. Silent. Watching. But somewhere, far beyond the rim, Vulsar warships were already moving. The alarm screamed across the command bridge of the UEF dreadnought Resolute. Red strobes flashed over the metal panels as Admiral Yulov barked orders and tactical overlays flickered across the massive holographic table. Helvaxis 4, once a thriving trade world, now lit up in crimson, marking it as lost. President Elena Mirek stood near the observation window, arms folded tightly, eyes locked on the chaos unfolding below. Even from orbit, the carnage was visible. Black smoke twisted up through the atmosphere. Firestorms raged across the equatorial cities. Vulsar drop pods fell like meteors. Ground comms down in Sector 3. An officer called out. Elena, Yulov said quietly, stepping beside her. They hit us before we even powered the planetary shield arrays. This was planned? They were waiting, she replied flatly. They wanted this to be a message. A young communications officer raised her head. Incoming distress call, from refugee shuttle Morning Tide. Launching from the Helvaxis capital. Patch it through, Yulov ordered. The screen blinked, and a frantic voice filled the bridge. This is Captain Renhalden, Morning Tide *. We're packed with civilians, half injured, attempting emergency escape, engines failing, Vulsar fighters on our tail, requesting immediate escort, please. Then static. Can we intercept? Elena asked. Yulov shook his head. We're stretched. Closest squadron's 10 minutes out. They don't have 10. No one spoke. They all knew what would come next. On the main screen, Morning Tide appeared, tilting erratically, smoke trailing behind it, flickers of flame licking its hull. A pair of sleek Vulsar interceptors swept into frame. Shield them, Elena whispered. The Vulsar fighters fired. Morning Tide fractured mid-space. Light flared. Then nothing. Elena turned from the window. How many aboard? Just under 900, Yulov said. Mostly evacuees. She didn't reply. She didn't need to. The silence said enough. 4 hours earlier, Helvaxis 4 had still believed in peace. The capital, Elmoris Reach, was a hub of shared architecture, curved silver buildings crafted by human and alien artisans alike. Children of mixed blood ran through the corridors of knowledge domes. Merchants sold Coroni crystal tech beside Terran grain rations. Now, those same domes lay shattered. On the surface, Sergeant Nadia Rice led a squad of infantry through the burning corridors of what had once been the planetary hospital. The ground trembled with each Vulsar orbital blast. Hold the evac route, she yelled over the roar of a collapsing tower. Civilians stumbled behind her, clutching whatever they could. An elderly alien woman held a crying human infant. A boy dragged his injured father. No one spoke, they had no breath for it. A burst of plasma fire hit the wall beside Nadia. She dropped to a knee and returned fire, clean, controlled shots. 2 Vulsar troopers fell, their armor cracking open with a hiss of blue gas. We're losing time, her comms officer shouted. Bridge is gone. We take them through the underpass and pray the shuttles are still there, she said. Above them, the sky was a burning lattice of warships, fighters, and falling debris. Back aboard Resolute, Elena reviewed satellite footage. Street by street, the Vulsar were advancing. No demands. No negotiations. Just annihilation. They never planned to occupy, she said. This is eradication. Yulov nodded grimly. They're wiping the colony to make an example. Not just to us, she said. To everyone in the Concord. She moved to the central console and opened a secure channel to her war cabinet. The Vulsar Dominion has declared total war, she said to the grim faces that appeared, generals, strategists, governors. Helvaxis 4 is lost. We can't save it. But we can make sure its memory lights a fire that spreads across every human world. One of the governors, a weathered man from Mars, leaned in. We have public outcry already. Half the population thinks you rushed into war. Media's spinning this as your fault. Elena didn't blink. Let them talk. I don't lead for applause. I lead so they survive long enough to learn the truth. She ended the call and turned to Yulov. Evacuate who you can. Pull back the fleet. Then prepare firewake protocol. We're going to hit them where it hurts. Later, she walked alone through the temporary medical bay aboard Resolute. Rows of stretchers lined the walls. A girl no older than 10 looked up at her, face pale, an ugly burn down one arm. She clutched a locket in her other hand. Elena knelt beside her. Are you hurt? The girl nodded. My mama didn't make it on the shuttle. Elena's throat tightened. She reached into her coat and pulled out the silver earth crest pinned near her heart. Then take this. And when this is over, you give it back to me. The girl took it with shaking fingers. Will we win? Elena stood. Her voice was firm. Yes. From orbit, Helvaxis 4 looked broken, scarred, blackened, gutted. But as the fleet retreated, the planet burned with defiance. It hadn't surrendered. It had simply taken the first blow. Back on the bridge, Elena watched as the last refugee ships jumped to safety. She spoke quietly, but her words cut through the silence. They wanted us scared. What they did was make us angry. The skyline of Earth's capital, New Geneva, looked clean, ordered, untouched. From the presidential tower, the distant mountains still shimmered beneath snow. It felt wrong. Elena stood before a dozen global news feeds, each flashing headlines in competing colors. President Mirek's recklessness costs millions on Helvaxis. Earth on the brink, should humanity step back? Concord collapse imminent, diplomacy still possible? She muted them. Behind her, Admiral Yulov entered, placing a thin tablet on her desk. Military polls are up. Civilian trusts dropping. Half the inner systems think we provoked the Vulsar. I expected worse, she said. They don't see the war yet. Just headlines. They'll see it soon, she muttered. We don't have time for doubt. The door chimed. Let him in, Elena said without turning. A tall, gray-scaled alien entered, his armored cloak trailing behind him. His face bore the sharp, angular features of the Coroni, a species nearly wiped out by the Vulsar decades ago. General Sarix Val. He bowed slightly. President Mirek. You asked for warriors? I bring them. Elena faced him. You risk execution returning to Concord space. I've already died once, Sarix said. The Vulsar burned my homeworld and made my people refugees. Your declaration gave us purpose again. He placed a small data chip on the table. Our scouts intercepted this. Dominion fleet movements. Target Earth. Time frame, 2 weeks. Yulov stiffened. They're coming here? Not just here, Sarix said. They mean to decapitate your leadership. Strike the heart before resistance forms. Elena took the chip. Then we need resistance that forms faster. Within hours, Operation Emberfall was in motion. Elena addressed a secure channel to 12 scattered outposts, rebels, and disavowed Concord worlds. The call was not diplomatic. It was a challenge. I won't promise safety, she said. But I offer a line in the sand. Fight now, and fight beside us, or wait and be buried alone. She left the screen dark after speaking. No smiling. No theatrics. By nightfall, 5 responses came in. The Zale Concordant, an avian race driven from their moons, offered stealth bombers. The Kalari Nomads pledged 3 cruisers and elite saboteurs. Even a faction of Vulsar dissidents, traitors to their empire, sent encrypted confirmation. Tiny sparks, maybe. But they were the start of a fire. Elena stood before the Joint Command that night, orbital projection wrapping the chamber in a holographic star map. Forget Concord Protocol, she said. We're not managing peace. We're planning survival. She pointed to a red mark system in the outer rim. This Vulsar relay station coordinates fleet traffic across 8 sectors. We hit it, we fracture their lines. It buys Earth time, and shows our allies that fear doesn't rule us. Yulov nodded. We'll need boots on the ground. Infiltration. Internal detonation. I'll lead the political front, Elena said. You handle the knives. Sarek stepped forward. I will take a strike team. No broadcast. No noise. Just results. One of Earth's younger generals hesitated. We've never coordinated operations with non-Terran leadership. Elena stared at him. Then it's about time we learned. At dawn, she walked alone through the old archives beneath the Capitol. Among forgotten records and memorials, she stopped at a small plaque, tarnished, simple. Lieutenant Eren Narek, lost on mission Vega 12, his silence still speaks. Her son. They told her it was a navigation error. A misjump. But later, whispers surfaced. Volzer sabotage. Evidence buried. The cost of peace. She hadn't believed it at first. Didn't want to. Until now. A soft voice echoed behind her. You don't talk about him. Yulov. There's nothing left to say, she answered. You carry him in every decision, he said gently. That's enough. She placed her hand on the plaque, then turned away. The mission launched in silence. No broadcasts. No announcements. A single fleet dispersed in fractured formations, converging near the Tyrex expanse. Their goal: disable the Volzer relay hub and vanish before retaliation. Elena monitored from a war room buried beneath New Geneva, surrounded by the hum of real-time feeds and encrypted bursts. Then something unexpected. A private comlink request, from Zorvex Theruin. She accepted. His image filled the display, calm, composed. You gather scraps and shattered things, Mirek, he said. Old ghosts. Broken empires. It won't save you. I don't intend to be saved, she replied. I intend to make you bleed. He raised an eyebrow. Your people don't understand the depth of what's coming. And yours underestimate how deep humans dig in when pushed. Zorvex smiled faintly. Then we shall test your resolve. Soon. The transmission ended. A moment later, the strike team confirmed detonation. The Volzer relay station erupted in a controlled implosion, blinding enemy sensors across 3 sectors. Earth had struck back. As stars lit the sky over the capital that night, Elena stepped onto the balcony of the presidential spire. She looked down at the crowds gathering below, civilians, soldiers, refugees. Silent. Watching. Waiting. She activated her neuromic. No prepared speech tonight, she said. Only this: they thought Helvaxis would break us. Instead, it woke us up. She paused. We bleed. We lose. But we do not bow. The crowd erupted, not in blind cheering, but in fierce, determined silence. Not a sound. Just fists raised. Together. For the first time since the war began, Elena Mirek believed Earth might just endure. The war room inside New Geneva's underground citadel pulsed with urgency. A massive 3-dimensional projection showed the Volzer armada converging from multiple directions: precision formations, cloaked dreadnoughts, planetary killers moving silently like predators through dark space. Earth had hours. Maybe less. President Elena Mirek leaned over the central table, eyes sharp, jaw locked. Across from her, Admiral Yulov and General Sarek studied the final phase of Operation Firewake, their last and only play. They're committing everything, Sarek said, nodding toward the Red Fleet markers. They're not bluffing. They intend to crush you in one decisive stroke. Good, Elena replied. That makes them predictable. Yulov zoomed into a cluster of enemy units stationed near the moons of Io. We hit their command bridge here. The moment we detect Zorvex's flagship, we deploy orbital destabilizers and cripple their control hub. If we miss the window / it's over. Elena nodded once. Then we don't miss. The Resolute and its battle group emerged from slip space in high Earth orbit, joining thousands of Allied vessels, human, Kuroni, Kalari, Zale. It was the largest human-led fleet in recorded history. From orbit, Earth shimmered in the distance, framed by metallic outlines and flickers of shield fields locking into place. On the Resolute's bridge, Elena stood in full command uniform, flanked by her highest-ranking officers. The air was tense but focused. A quiet alarm pinged. "Zorvex's flagship just breached the outer exosphere," said the tactical officer. "Vulzar war formation confirmed. They're committing to atmospheric insertion." Elena stepped forward. "All units, execute fire wake. Lock Earth's defensive grid and target the Dominion's central control nodes. Begin now." The silence before the battle broke like glass. Space ignited. Lines of blue and violet cut through the void as interceptors screamed past capital ships. Vulzar bombers dove toward the upper stratosphere, only to be torn apart by human flak arrays. Coroni vessels, shaped like arrowheads, weaved through enemy formations, launching precise strikes that shattered Vulzar hulls. But the enemy kept coming, coordinated, relentless. Elena watched as one of their outer defense satellites was breached and detonated. The explosion illuminated half the hemisphere, casting shadows even in low orbit. "We need eyes on Zorvex," Yulov growled. "Find that flagship." A sharp voice from Intel. Visual confirmation, Dominion battlecruiser Throne of Ruin, entering low Earth orbit. "It's him. Deploy the Hammer protocol," Elena ordered. Now. On the ground, in the ruins of the old Eurasian defense grid, a buried weapon awoke. Constructed in secret under Project Firewake, the orbital disruption lance fired upward, splitting the clouds with a deafening hum. A streak of pure energy lanced toward Zorvex's flagship, slicing through its underbelly. The Throne of Ruin staggered, shields collapsing. A secondary barrage from Allied cruisers hit its engines. The ship dropped into Earth's gravity field, spiraling, burning, trying to stabilize. Inside Resolute, Elena gave the next order. "Prepare boarding strike. We end this." Cerex led the assault. Aboard a needle-shaped drop craft, his elite strike team descended fast, evading debris and Vulzar returned fire. They breached the wounded flagship's hull in a single, violent push, cutting through metal corridors thick with smoke and shrieking alarms. The halls were chaos, Vulzar soldiers charging, plasma whistling past steel. Cerex moved like a shadow, tearing through opposition with brutal precision. Behind him, Earth commandos pushed forward. "Bridge in sight," his second-in-command shouted. Cerex kicked the blast door open. Inside, Zorvex stood alone, waiting. Back on Resolute, Elena watched the live feed. Helmet cams flickered as Cerex entered the command chamber. The Vulzar warlord was calm, expression unreadable. "You defy inevitability," Zorvex said. "It changes nothing." Cerex raised his weapon. "You're finished." Zorvex took a step forward. "We offered you unity. Order. Instead, you chose defiance. Now your world burns. We choose freedom," Cerex said, and fired. The shot took Zorvex in the chest. The warlord fell to one knee, blood soaking his armor. A second shot silenced him. On Earth's war table, silence fell. "He's down," Cerex confirmed. "The Throne of Ruin is ours." Without Zorvex, the Vulzar fleet faltered. Their formations wavered. Coordination collapsed. Allied squadrons pushed hard, retaking orbital ground inch by inch. Human fighters hunted damaged cruisers, and Coroni bombers struck retreating carriers with surgical precision. After 38 hours of combat, the Vulzar Dominion fled. Earth had not just survived, it had won. Later, beneath the bruised sky of Earth, Elena walked through the ruins of New Geneva's outer districts. Smoke lingered. Buildings stood cracked, scorched, but still standing. She passed soldiers clearing rubble, engineers restoring grids, children huddled in tents drawing stars on scrap paper. At the edge of the ruins, a large makeshift memorial had formed. Helmets, flowers, unit tags, all laid beneath a banner that read, **. We held the line. **. Yulov approached quietly. "Final casualty report is in. 1 million across the Allied systems. But Earth stands." She nodded, eyes on the sea of tributes. And the Vulsar? Retreated to their outer worlds. Fractured leadership. Internal fighting. The Dominion is bleeding. They'll come back someday, she said. Maybe. But next time, the galaxy will stand ready. Elena stepped onto a makeshift podium at the memorial square. No grand broadcast. No flags. Just her voice, tired but unwavering. They called us scattered. Soft. Disorganized. They thought they'd teach us fear. Instead, we taught them consequence. She looked over the crowd, civilians, soldiers, survivors. This wasn't just a victory for Earth. It was a warning, we will not be erased. A murmur of agreement moved through the crowd, quiet, strong, unbreakable. In her private quarters, Elena stood before a small shelf. At the center, the silver crest she'd once given to a little girl from Helvaxis 4 had been returned, neatly placed, polished, along with a note, "You kept your word." She smiled faintly, placing it beside her son's old photograph. Outside, dawn rose over Earth, brighter than before.